Finished ending A last time, finally. It took what? 36 hours. Jeez. What's the next? So many questions to be answered.
Whenever I interacted with Kainé, I was reminded about something from my past. Maybe my mind has been confusing her with my sister this whole time. Anyway...
So we're starting here? Kainé's dreams. Discrimination. Oh man. The sound of rain filled the village. Steep cliffs that surrounded the area magnified sound, causing even the slightest drizzle to rattle like a thunderstorm. Thin wisps of smoke streamed from huts as the villagers huddled in their homes and waited out the rain. A single child, however, had braved the downpour and was now wandering slowly toward the wooden, hawk-shaped weather vane at the center of the town. The wanderer reached the vane, which had existed for as long as any could remember, and stared. The child's face was simultaneously delicate and fierce, like a teacup that had survived a shipwreck. Those traits combined with pale red skin to give the face an almost sexless quality. What kind of adjective use is that? What? Sexless quality? If the beak turns east, I go home. If it stays west, then I... The child blinked. Rain slowly dripped down the young one's short hair and began its long descent to the ground. Come on. Come on! Come on! The child felt the slight breeze and watched as the vane slowly creaked to life. Spinning this way and that for a moment, it finally settled with a beak pointing firmly toward the east. East? Really? Before the vane could move again, a jagged rock came spinning and tumbling through the air, striking home against the child's head. Oof. The force of the blow dropped the child to the ground as a hail of stones began to fall all around. Oh no, they found me. A heartbreaking smile crept across the child's face as the stones continued their assault. Through the rain, the sound of multiple footsteps grew louder before a voice rang out. Yoo-hoo! Kainé! The voice belonged to Demo, worst of all the bullies in the area. As Kainé struggled to stand, a final stone came skittering through the mud and bounced against her foot. Blood oozed from a cut above her eye and blurred her vision, but she could make out the shapes of Demo and his usual gang of idiots. The boy seemed taken aback for a moment by Kainé's seeming indifference to the blood dripping from her face, but quickly regained his bravado. Yeah, what's up, freak? You like the rain? You like being all wet? Or did you finally decide to run away from home? Though she knew it was futile, Kainé turned to leave. Before she could get more than a few steps, the other children scrambled to surround her, cruelty burning in their eyes. Kainé knew those were not the only eyes on her. The tormentor's parents watched from the safety of their homes. She was attuned to this sensation, was one she had experienced many times before. While some villagers simply turned a blind eye to the actions of their children, many encouraged it openly. In a society ruled by superstition and fear, Kainé was something to be hated, and if possible, destroyed. I didn't say you could leave, freak. Demo's words chewed her like a worm through an apple. He can't hurt me, she lied to herself. Be strong, be brave. He can't hurt me. He can't hurt me. He can't hurt. Oh look, the little freak is gonna cry. What's wrong? Are you sad that everyone hates you and wants you dead? Kainé prayed for the rain to flood down and carry her away from the world that seemed to have no place for her. But if there were gods, they chose to ignore her. As the demo crept even closer, clouds began to thin and the rain slowed. Even the weather hates me. I'm useless. A failure. Wish Demo's rock had taken my head off. Kainé couldn't meet Demo's leering gaze. She lowered her eyes and stared at the muddy ground below. The bully moved forward until he was inches away. She could smell the scent of old meat on his breath. Huh? The boy grabbed Kainé's face with thick fingers and yanked it upward. She tried to turn away, but he forced her gaze back and jammed his thumb against her eyelid to pry it open. Show me. Show me. No. Did you just say no? Demo grinned evilly. You don't say no to me. No one says no to me. Not even taking his attention from Kainé, he called to his cohort. Come on guys, let's give the freak what she deserves. As soon as Demo finished, kicks and blows began to rain down upon Kainé. Demo paused, still grinning, as Kainé curled into a ball and tried to make the pain stop. I don't get you, freak. What you acting like a girl for, huh? Everyone knows what you really are. Kainé ignored the question, choosing instead to stare at the weather vane. It continued to point east, as if supremely confident about the future he had chosen for her. Go home. Yeah, that's a funny joke for someone with dead parents and no home to go to. Freak! Chanted the children. Freak, freak, freak! Kainé closed her eyes and listened to the rain, waiting for the pain to start again. As the clutching hands of the village children closed around her, she bent her mind to the sound of the rain, letting it become her world entire. The rain fell, but the pain never came. Only when the laughter of her tormentors turned to terrified cries did she dare open a single blood-caked eye. Kainé was shocked to see Demo sprawled on the ground, holding his head and screaming in pain. She could see the blood welling up from spaces between his fat, twisted fingers. Oh my god. He's crying. He's actually crying. Huh? Deprived of their leader, the other children glanced back and forth between themselves, as if waiting for someone to step forward and take charge. When no savior emerged, they began an uneasy shuffle away from Kainé. But the young girl was the least of their concerns. Instead, their attention was wrapped on the ancient woman standing a few feet away. After struggling for her breath for a moment, finally spoke in a voice thick with rage. Hurts like a bitch, don't it? Now I suggest you scatter before I throw another one. And if any of you little bastards ever touch my Kainé again, I'll do far worse than throw a rock. You can count on it. The old woman crouched down and gently touched the hand of Demo, was using to cover his wound. Before he could think to protest, she ground her palm into the room and twisted back and forth. Ow! He screamed, leaping to his feet. Stop it! What are you doing? Quit whining. Ain't no one ever died from a scratch. You hit me with a rock, you stupid bitch. A big one. That thing could have killed me. The old woman shrugged. Death is the best cure for the stupid. Demo's face twisted with rage at her words. Locking his eyes on Kainé, Took a step backward and spat on the ground. Get out! Leave the village! No one wants you here, either of you. Seeing the woman grab another stone, Demo and his companions turned tail and ran. As they fled, the old woman grabbed his side and barked out a single laugh. Look at the fat boy go! Guess he's healthy enough to run from a fight. The woman's smile faded as she turned her attention to Kainé. Kneeling down, she removed her shawl and placed it around the young girl's shoulders, then produced a cloth from the folds of her dress and began blotting at the blood on her forehead. Oh, Kainé, she said, why didn't you fight back? You're stronger than that lot. The words of her grandmother stung Kainé, and she turned away. Be nice to me, she said. I don't deserve it. Nothing matters anymore. The tears, held in check for so long, finally began to fall on the muddy ground below. Everyone hates me. They think I cause bad things to happen. They think I'm a freak. I wish I was dead. As Kainé's tears turned into sobs, she felt her grandmother's hands on her shoulders. Despite her advanced age and diminutive size, she was a woman of surprising strength, and Kainé found herself unable to turn away. Don't talk like that, girl. It's a river wide and deep that flows between the realms of this world and the next, and grants no mercy to any that attempt the crossing. You got a duty to fight until your last breath. Understand? The old woman tightened her grip and tried to still the tremor in her voice. You know the pain of losing someone to you, someone close to you, Kainé. You know because you survived it. As the words hit home, Kainé was struck by the force of her love for the old woman. As a young child, she didn't even know of her grandmother, but when her parents died, the woman quickly accepted her as her own. Grandma, as Kainé called her, was cunning, vulgar, and quick to violence, and their first few years together had not been easy. With each year that passed, Kainé and her grandmother had grown closer. However, it was only now, sitting in the mud with tears and blood caking her face, Kainé truly understood the depths of her affection. Here was a woman who had seen hard times, who had seen death, who had fought through all these things and somehow emerged on the other side. Anyone could understand Kainé's pain and loneliness. It was her. Do I make you sick, Grandma? Of course not. Don't be an ass. Kainé drew her grandmother's moth-eaten shawl around her body and shuddered. But my body is not normal. If I was normal, then Mom and Dad wouldn't. Hush, interrupted Grandma. I'll not hear another word of this nonsense. You're my granddaughter, and I love you. And if folks have a problem with that, they can just go to hell. With that, the old woman reached out and placed a wreath of dried flowers in Kainé's hair. The skill it took to bend flowers without breaking the stems or losing a single petal was remarkable. The beauty of it made Kainé want to cry all over again. Oh my gosh, these are lunar tears. Grandma, you made this for me? Lunar tears were legendary flowers. Most people could live their entire lives without ever seeing one, and yet grandmother had somehow collected a dozen or more. Kainé reached up and touched the wreath as if she couldn't believe it was real. Where did you find these? Just stumbled on them while I was out doing the shopping. The old woman turned away as she spoke, leading Kainé to suspect that the search had been more difficult than she was letting on. Pains she took to construct the ornament, let alone traffic down the flowers used in its construction. Kainé's heart hurt. She reached up and gently adjusted the wreath, admiring the way it felt between her fingers. Didn't quite turn out right, said her grandmother as she squinted at it. These old hands have trouble with delicate work, but it sure looks good on a pretty girl like you. Kainé blushed and turned away. You think I'm pretty? course you are. What a fool thing to say. Thank you, Grandma. Her grandmother smiled. We're gonna be fine, you and me, she said. As long as we got each other, we'll be just fine. Kainé took her grandmother's hand in hers, and the two of them struggled to their feet. As they began the long walk home, Kainé gripped the hand with all her might, as if trying to stop smoke from drifting away on the wind. The rain had stopped. Kainé stood between the weather vane, watching it spin in lazy circles, no longer caring about the direction it faced when it stopped. I don't need to escape. I have a home now. Grandma loves me. That's enough. Even if it's us against the world. Kainé let her gaze drift up past the vane and into the cloudy sky. Last faint hints of rainbow were slowly fading. As she turned and headed for home, light scattered into a million particles and vanished, seemingly taken away on the breeze. Kainé's dreams, daily life. What the fuck? Is it just gonna be a bunch of text? In the distance, Kainé heard the steady sounds of an axe striking wood. The noise had purposeful quality to it, as if she was hearing a master woodsman go about his work. The firewood being produced, however, was as far from a work of art as could be. Pieces of every shape and size were being flung about a barren yard with wild abandon. Anyone trying to stack such wood would probably die of frustration before the job was through. Stupid piece of shit axe. Kainé's grandmother flailed away with the axe, filling the air with both splinters of wood and words that would make the most hardened sailor blush. Grandma, called Kainé. That you, Kainé? Yelled the old woman, taking her eyes off the wood for a moment. Don't get too close or I might take your goddamn foot off by mistake. She brought down the axe on a piece of wood, sending chips flying in every direction. One spun past Kainé close enough for her to hear the whistle, at which point she decided to step back. Once she scuttled to a safe distance, she cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted, Grandma! You need help? I could get you water or lunch or a new axe or something. The axe poised to strike another wobbly blow, paused in midair. The old woman considered her granddaughter's offer for the moment and smiled. Tell you what, since I'm doing such a piss-poor job of chopping, why don't you come here and take over so I can get the water? Shades of a restless lady, I don't want you running into one of them bastards. Relinquishing her axe, her grandmother picked up a long pole with wooden buckets on either end. Gathering water was by far the more difficult of the two jobs, but Kainé knew better than to complain. Once Grandma's mind was set, there was no changing it. Kainé did her best to help with the chores, but Grandma took every task that required travel to the village. Though she had a long list of plausible excuses, Kainé knew the real reason. She didn't want her grandmother to be taunted and harassed by the villagers. Once Kainé moved in, Grandma decided to take up residence a good distance away from the area. Out of sight, out of mind seemed to be the best policy when it came to the villagers and her granddaughter. And rare were the days when any but the two of them could be found on the rocky acre of land they got home. Kainé enjoyed the solitude, but harbored a secret resentment that her grandmother was forced to spend her golden years in such a place. After watching her grandmother leave, Kainé turned her attention to the task at hand. She had never chopped the wood before in her life, but soon discovered why the old woman hated the chore. Swing after swing of the axe produced only a tiny crack in the wood. When she finally managed to connect it with a solid stroke, the tool embedded itself in the log and refused to budge. Frustrated, Kainé swung the axe around her head and threw it, log and all, across the yard. Damn it! Crap. Suddenly I understood the joy her grandmother felt in a good curse. Happier now, she picked up the axe, forced it from the wood, and resumed chopping. They had a natural skill with the blade, but the task was challenging, and blisters soon began to form on the small pink hands. This is tough. And my logs are all weird sizes. Spitting on her palms and ignoring the pain, Kainé redoubled her efforts. Just as she was developing a rhythm, Grandma returned from the village. Sitting down her buckets with a small sigh, she took one look at the logs and coughed out a wheezy laugh. Pretty clumsy girl. You better practice if you... grandmother suddenly collapsed to her knees, causing one of the buckets to wobble precariously. Eyes wide, Kainé dropped the axe and ran to her grandmother's aid. Grandma! The old woman shook her head and pointed a trembling finger at the bucket. Get the bucket. Can't let it spill. Kainé steadied the bucket with a foot as she knelt by her grandmother. A small bit of water sloshed over the side and made a new home in the hem of her dress, but Kainé didn't notice. Grandma? Grandma, what's happening? Crazed with panic, she grabbed her grandmother by the shoulders and shook. After a moment, the woman lifted her arms and batted Kainé away. Stop that! Just stop! She cried, breathing heavily. It ain't like I'm dying. It's tired from the trip is all. Kainé desperately wanted to believe her, but one look at the old woman's shaking hands and one face told her that more words than told her more than words could. The words ever could. God damn it, I can't read. Oh, there's so much text. Her grandmother had lived a long, hard life, and it seemed that a bill was finally coming due. When her grandmother watched over Kainé was ending. Oh, the time when her grandmother watched over Kainé was ending. Sooner than either of them had feared, the positions would be reversed. The next morning, Kainé came to the side of her grandmother's bed, took her wrinkled hand. Grandma, you're sick, and you need medicine. I'm going to the village. The old woman shook her head and tried to rise, but Kainé gently pushed her down. It's alright, she said. I'll be fine. Her grandmother fixed her with a gaze that could melt steel. After what seemed an eternity, she finally lowered her eyes and sighed. Well, I don't like it, god damn it. But I guess I should quit being so stubborn and let you grow up. The old woman watched as Kainé strapped her boots and made her way down the road to the village. Hours later, and as an unseen sun made its way across the dark and rainy sky, she was still watching. Kainé moved at a brisk pace, checking her pockets every few minutes to make sure the money grandmother gave her was still there. Every noise caused her to spin on her heels, making sure she wasn't being stalked by a shade, or worse, Demo and his gang. But she encountered neither tormentors nor shades, and Kainé finally found herself at the entrance to the village. A few of those she could see glanced sideways at her, then muttered to each other's behind raised hands before slinking away into the shadows. Her heart racing, Kainé took a series of rapid, shallow breaths and tried to calm herself. I have to prove myself. I have to help Grandma. I have to be strong. She chanted those words to herself over and over as she slowly made her way. Finally, her eyes settled on a rotund older woman who was angrily waving her arms in the air, telling anyone who would listen exactly what she thought of Kainé's presence. Hey lady, said Kainé with the bravado she did not feel. Where's the apothecary? The woman's flabby cheeks shook in anger. How dare this thing speak to me? They seemed to say. But Kainé saw that her eyes held a different emotion. Fear. Yeah, we're both scared, lady. Trust me on this one. Which way? Kainé repeated. The woman pointed at a small building to her right before hitching her up her dress and stumbling off in the other direction. Kainé cringed, expecting a stone come flying from the assembled crowd, but none came. Her mind was filled with a strange sense of pride as she made her way to the apothecary. But the new motion had little time to take root, for as soon as she opened the door, she noticed a familiar customer at the counter. It was Demo. He'd clearly been sent here on some kind of family errand, because his gang of followers was nowhere to be found. Oh my god, he sputtered. I mean, what are you doing here, freak? The insult was delivered without force, and Kainé happily ignored it. Stretching on tiptoes to see over the counter, she asked the shopkeeper for the medication. Ha, barked Demo. That old bitch finally keeled over. Go to hell, Demo. The boy's eyes grew so wide it seemed ready to fall out of his head. Before he could let fly a comeback, or worse, a punch. The apothecary told them to knock it off before he kicked them out of the store. Demo slunk out of the shop, cursing Kainé under his breath. But Once she was gone, she allowed herself to breathe once more, taking a brief tour of the shop while the owner prepared her medication. Countless tiny bottles filled the cramped store, each with a label written in some indecipherable language. An ocean of aromas assaulted her nose, creating a scent that was exotic, but not altogether unpleasant. Seeing such a variety of supplies gave Kainé a sense of peace. Surely, in a world so vast, there would be a place she could call home. On the far wall, behind the counter, rested a portrait of a stunning young girl. The picture had once contained bright, vibrant colors, but time had worked its cruel magic, and they were beginning to fade. The beauty of the work, however, remained undiminished. You like that picture? Kainé turned to find the apothecary with a small vial of medicine in his hand. His eyes were gentle but sad, and they seemed to stare her through and nothing as he spoke. That's my daughter. I sketched her when she was just a little girl. She's been dead a long time now. Kainé didn't know how to respond. She just stared at the portrait and tried to come up with the right words. Pictures are wonderful things, continued the shopkeeper. They let the ones closest to you live on forever. He shook his head slightly, then looked down at Kainé and smiled. Handing her the medicine, he reached into his sizable green apron and produced a handful of old wax crayons. You should have these. There was no one left that I wished to draw. Kainé took an instinctive step back, causing the shopkeeper's face to darken. Yes, I've heard the rumors about you, he said. It's a small village and word travels quickly. But you and me, I'm not sure which of them to believe. Also don't think they matter much. I know your grandmother, Kali. I think the way she was driven out of this town is just deplorable. Grandmother's name is Kali, thought Kainé. Suddenly, she was still mulling this new fact over in her mind as she reached out and gently took the crayons from the apothecary's stands. Your grandmother is an old friend of mine, he said, as Kainé scooted away yet again. And I owe her much. I wager she would like it if you drew her a picture. Yes, I think she would like that very much. Kainé murmured a quiet agreement. Inside her head was bursting. But before had a villager treated her with anything but a complete contempt. It was a tiny, almost imperceptible step. But it was a step nonetheless, and with enough tiny steps, she might one day discover the rest of the world. When Kainé returned home, she found her grandmother asleep in her bed. Her feet were blackened and raw, even bleeding a bit in places, leading Kainé to think that she had been pacing around the room until exhaustion had finally caught up with her. She placed the medicine by her grandmother's pillow and turned to leave. Found the old woman's hand clasped around her arm. Back already, are you? Asked her grandmother with a yawn. Come here, let me have a look at you. Grandmother sat up and examined Kainé from head to toe. Finally satisfied with that nothing terrible had befallen her grandchild, she leaned back and allowed herself to relax. Well, how was it? Those bastards give you any trouble? It was kind of fun, Kainé said with a small smile. Oh, seriously, it was. Fun, eh? Asked her grandmother in a voice which implied she believed anything but. Uh-huh. So anytime you need me to run an errand, just let me know. As she spoke, Kainé removed the crayons from her pocket. After a brief explanation of their source, she informed her grandmother that she was going to sketch her portrait. Portrait of me? Ridiculous. No one wants to stare at a wrinkled old crone. Grandma, it'll make you live forever. Horse shit! Said her grandmother, throwing back the sheet from her bed. Living forever would just piss me off. Now put those crayons away and have with dinner. But Kainé would not relent, and in the end, Grandma found herself leaning against the wall of the house as if posing for a master artist. Kainé took up the crayons, eyed the subject carefully, and set to work. Just as the grandmother was about to nod off, Kainé finished the piece, and after staring at it for a bit, she released it from her grip and let it slowly drift to the floor. It's terrible. It doesn't look like you at all. I'm sorry, Grandma. I thought these crowns would, you know, make drawing easy or something. The old woman's eyes narrowed at her granddaughter's disappointment. Let me be the judge of that, she said, ignoring the pain in her back and reaching for the paper. The sketch could have been a person's face. It also could have been a boulder, a lump of clay, or an incredibly misshapen loaf of bread, all rendered in a chaotic array of colors. The old woman stared at the picture for a long time, then slowly breathed out a laugh. Oh, Kainé, she said between the laughter. You truly are my blood. You're as clumsy as me, and I love it. But... hush. I won't hear any more bawl about how ugly you think this is. It came from the heart. I'll treasure it always. With her word, the old woman gave the picture a place of honor above the kitchen table. In the days followed, Kainé would often catch us staring at the portrait with a strange smile on her face. An action she interpreted as silent, mocking laughter. A week later, cut it head over. Grandmother, take your armor down. Posh, said the old woman. I'll take this down when they roll me in my shroud. She pondered this for a bit, then turned to Kainé and dropped him to one knee. Listen to me, girl. Seeing this picture makes me happy in a way I've never felt before. It makes me want to go on, so that someday you can feel the same happiness. It was a moment that burned itself in Kainé's memory. A perfect blend of pride and joy that came together to form a lifelong remembrance. She swore to never forget this moment, to never forget the old woman who had made her place in the world possible. Time moves on. People and memories in and out of her life like ghosts passing through a hall. This moment will be different, Kainé swore, because I will remember it forever. Forever. Kainé's dreams, separation. Fucking hell, dude. Is this some artistic decision, or they just did not want to animate a cutscene? Something. And they listened to the sound of crackling firewood instead of the blank object on the plate. She had been pushing it around the wooden disc for a good 10 minutes, ignoring the bemused stare of her grandmother. Finally, she summoned her courage and gave the object a brief sniff. A sharp bit of scent flew up her nostrils and made its home there, causing her face to twist with disgust. Grandma, I can't believe you want me to eat a bug. The old woman threw some more wood under the cooking pot and snorted. It's no bug, you fool, it's a berry. Why the hell would I be feeding you bugs? Yeah, well, it sure looks like a bug, said Kainé. I think it's burnt or something, because it smells terrible. With that, Kainé healed her nose and threw the berry in her mouth, chewing as little as possible. Oh yeah, that's terrible, alright. Why, you little brat, laughed the old woman. Look at the sass on you. You've been spending too much time with me, and that's a fact. 5 years had passed since the moment when Kainé's grandmother saved her from the bullies. As is often the way with you stubborn people, the relationship had grown in fits and starts, but moved forward all the same. Meals that used to be the somber affairs were now filled with laughter and hurled and abuse in equal measure. Kainé could not remember a time when she had been happier. As the years went by, Kainé started to shoulder more and more of the daily responsibilities. Her grandmother's legs grew weaker by the day, and she could no longer do many of the chores she used to take for granted. And so, this morning found Kainé lacing up her work boots with a breakfast of burnt berries rolling through her belly. Where are you going today? Asked the grandmother suddenly. Kainé looked up, surprised. The old woman really asked for specifics anymore. Well, I was gonna check out the kelma trees to see if they are ripe. I thought we could make some jam or something. Oh, and I thought I'm gonna pick up some flagstones, so I need to take the wheelbarrow. Flagstones? What in the hell for? Kainé said at the grandmother, held out her arm and swept it around their home. Constructed mostly of cloth of rope and rubble, the old place sagged like the box in the final round. Grandma, a dying cat could chew through this house. I'm gonna build a stone wall so we have some protection. The old woman laughed, exposing a toothless grin to the world. God damn, girl, if a bunch of thieves want to ransack this old place, let them come. We got nothing but stealing anyway. I'm not worried about thieves, I'm worried about shades. People saw one west of the village yesterday. The woman tilted her head and stared at her granddaughter. Well, shoot, I don't know why you have to do it here today. We can worry about it some other... Grandma, no. I don't get to go to the temple trees we want you tonight. You know that. I could feel the expression went across the old woman's face, and for a moment she was a small child lost at a carnival. Yes, she said after a bit. Yes, of course you're right. I'm sorry, Kainé. Lately it seems my mind is... She didn't finish her thought, instead walking over to the nightstand and gently taking the wreath of luteus from the drawer. Flowers' petals had aged to a brilliant whiteness, and Kainé thought it was more beautiful now than the day she first received it. You're gonna be a true woman soon, Grandma said as she placed the flowers in the girl's hair. That means let's chat out about shades and more building to fuzz up walls and more talking about how beautiful you are. Anyway, Kainé reached out and moved the gun, but took Grandma's faces out for her hand. You're beautiful things, they open, they another like you in all the world. Very proud of you. Okay, Grandma, that's enough goddamn compliments for the day. Such a mouth on you, where did you come from? Gee, I wonder. I'll teach you to ask me, girl. Yeah, Grandma. Suddenly she lifted forward and grabbed Kainé by the ears, pulling her around the room with a crazed grin on her face. Grandma! She yelled in a creaky voice. Grandma, stop it, what the hell? The old woman stared at her and blinked, and then slowly her wrinkled hands out, as if it was the first time she had ever seen them. Oh dear, I don't know what happened there. I'm sorry, girl. Something in my mind just... Kainé thought the look on Grandma's face was the most heartbreaking thing she'd ever seen. Listen, she began. Maybe I should see him myself. No, I won't have you stay here to keep an eye on an old codger like me. You go get your fruit and a wall and whatnot. I'll be fine. And when you come back, I'll have a nice grasshopper dinner waiting for you. Kainé rolled her eyes and then kissed the grandma on the forehead and made ready to depart. Trying desperately to ignore the worry that was gnawing at the walls of her heart, Kainé could feel the old woman's eyes watching. As she moved down the path, don't turn around, she told herself, but the temptation was too great. She spun on her heel for one final look at a small, bent woman standing in front of a round chocolate hut with a sad expression on their face. I paid $80 for this? I bought the White Snow edition. God, she looks so old now. It's like the wind could reach down and just carry her. Kinda worried about her grandmother all day, causing her work to suffer. But the fruit she could collect was tossed carelessly into the wheelbarrow, and she only found a couple of stones before losing interest in the project. Finally, as they'll stop, she decided to call it a day. Cursing herself on the lack of focus, Kainé nearly pushed the nearly empty wheelbarrow back down the path. As she crossed the final hill, she suddenly froze in place. The wheelbarrow fingers collapsed on its side, sending a few pieces of wrinkled brown fruit rolling back down the hill. Her gaze was transfixed by a thick black cloud that hovered just ahead. Tracing its path with a finger, Kainé suddenly felt her stomach not in on itself. No. Oh gods, no. Her grandmother's house was ablaze, the flames flickering up as if trying to touch the sky itself. Grandma? Grandma! Kainé ran then, faster than she had ever moved in her life. She once tripped on a stone and went sprawling to the rocky ground, but she leapt to her feet and continued running, unmindful of the blood spilled from her wounded hands and knees. As she got closer and closer, Kainé's mind began to race into time with her footfalls. It's too dark, not just fire. It can't be fire, too much smoke. Gotta save her. She burst from the front yard and came to sudden halt. Her worst suspicions confirmed. Smoke from the fire was mingling with the thick inky blackness of an enormous shade. A massive creature supported itself on 3 twisted feet, and achieved balance the remains of a large armored head. Scales, horns, and claws sprouted from his body in a random, chaotic pattern, giving it the appearance of a lizard designed by some insane god. Seeing Kainé let out a roar and flicked his tail, sending a small whirlwind spinning around the yard. For a moment, the creature retreated into a shimmering inky blackness, as if her mind was unable to comprehend that such a small thing could actually exist. Then a smell hit her, a blend of rotten meat and excrement, and the horror became real once more. The creature bellowed again, and this time Kainé responded with a scream of her own. Alright, you bastard, she thought as her scream echoed off the high cliffs around him. It's you or me, let's go. The shade eyed Kainé with bemused interest. Then it began looking from her to the house and back again, as if urging her to look at the destruction it had so gleefully wrought. With dread building in her heart, Kainé glanced at the torn house. Through the smoke and flames, she spotted a small figure struggling to escape the ruins. Grandma! At the sound of a voice, the old woman began waving frantically. She's alive, Dr. Alive! Kainé's legs sprang to life. She raced across the yard toward the flaming wreckage of the house. Before she could advance more than a few steps, the shape opened its mouth and let a was powerful enough to uproot the trees and send them flying. The blast sent Kainé tumbling through the air before smashing against the rocky earth. Stars danced in front of her eyes as she tried to remember how her legs work. Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up now! As Kainé struggled to her feet, she stopped toward the house and put her grandmother to the ground with the tip of a claw. The old woman struggled to move, fell from her stomach, but she might as well have been pushing a mountain. She got breathing, sending a small flare of blood into the air and collapsed at the ground, her energy spent. Kainé lurched to her feet, only to fall back to the earth with a gasp. Ankles were on fire. One or both of them were surely broken. Ignoring the pain that screamed through her body, she began dragging herself across the ground, leaving a drunken trail of dust and blood in her wake. Good grandma, hold on. Just a little longer. Her grandmother's face was turning blue, her eyes rolling back until only the whites were exposed. Kainé pulled herself to the ground with maddening slowness. The distance seeming to increase with every second that passed. The shade glanced between the two women and flicked out his tongue as giant mouth up, turning up at the corners. Oh shit. Evil! Bastard, laughing at us. She had no idea how a mindless creature could experience emotion. But there could be no doubt she was taking joy in the suffering. Yeah, I see your plan. The shade moved its claws slightly, allowing Grandma to breathe again. It was clearly keeping her alive, only to snap out her life when Kainé was close enough to touch it. I'm gonna kill this bastard. Opening lights turned, Kainé rose to her feet. There was a sickening snap from her right ankle and the foot that was hit backward. But she forced it from her mind and began to hobble toward the monster. Pulling a small knife from the pouch of her waist, she leapt forward that pinned her grandmother and plunged the weapon deep. Give her back! She screamed. Give it back to me! It was like stabbing a rock. After a few strikes, the knife broke at the hilt with dull snap. The shade panted laughter again and then raised its tail and sent it rushing through the air toward the young girl that was latched to its foot. Kainé never had a chance. The tail struck her square in the chest and sent her crashing into the burning wreckage of the home. As she lay on the ground with blood pouring from multiple wounds, a small, weak voice spoke up. Kainé? Kainé's voice blurred. Kainé's vision blurred as she forced herself to focus on the ground. Finally it cleared. The eyes cleared enough to make out her grandmother's hands reaching out to her through the smoke. Grandma! Kainé, you gotta run. You can't miss this one. Kainé grabbed the hands and held on with all her strength. Grandma, come on. We have to go. The old woman coughed loudly. One of her hands, slick with blood, slipped from Kainé's grasp and thumped to the ground below. Grandma, no. No! I said run, goddammit, you have to live. You have to get through. The thought was still forever unfinished. Before she could say another word, the shade's clawed foot descended, smashing through the remains of the roof and down upon the shattered figure of the old woman. Blood oozed from the gaps of the creature's toes as the terrible putrid smell assaulted Kainé's nose once again. She stared at the foot dumbfounded, convinced that what she was seeing could not possibly be real. When the creature finally lifted its appendage, all that remained underneath was a twisted, unrecognizable mass of rubble and red. Her grandmother was gone. Kainé blinked, trying to feel the hands which had been in hers just a moment before. For a fleeting instant, she could remember the warmth of that embrace, the trembling of the fingers, but that sensation drifted away on the breeze and was gone. Memories flashed through Kainé's mind, one after another, faster and faster, until they became a meaningless jangle of noise. Kainé screamed, a thunderous sound that echoed off the cliffs that seemed to roll away forever. The shade eased forward, a black ichor pouring from its mouth and dissolving into smoke on the ground below. It shook with every step as it crept towards the spray. Kainé's body slowly rose over control by the mad puppeteer. Arms were bent in impossible angles. The lad lolled dangerously to the side, but somehow she managed to stand. Staring at the shade, her eyes began to glow with a deep red fire. The creature, so confident just moments before, took a slow, hesitant step backward, trying to discern if this broken human could possibly pose a threat. Kainé seized the moment, laughing like a madman. She leapt into the air and plunged shattered here of a knife deep into the leg of the shade. The shade could cut Kainé like a fly, sending her crashing to the earth once again. Her chest rose and fell slowly as if a great weight were resting on it. More sounds of pain echoed through her mind. Something warm and thick oozed from her ears. Is that blood? I think it is. I think I'm bleeding to death. No, this can't be. Grandma told me to live. Deep inside Kainé's mind, something finally broke. The sound, the pain, the smoke, and flames. It all faded away until all that remained was a single incantation repeated over and over again. Kill it! 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 Kill it now! At the spark that was Kainé slowly began to flicker and die. Felt a desire to kill and a desire to live blend into one. The distance between heartbeats grew longer, longer, and longer. Oh! Jeez! Hey, my spear.
The beast approaches. Oh, I know.
Why? Well, I hope you guys are glad to hear actual voice actors. Even though I got tired, like, halfway through. Do I have to fight it again? Oh, wow. Whoops.
What anger this creature must have. How did it even survive these past 5 years?
Whoops.
I'm not gonna let this happen again. It dies today.
My sword feels lighter. It's not the blade, but the skill of the
That's
user.
not a sword,
Strike
dude.
it down.
Oh. Yeah, squeeze him like a bottle of mayo. Blech. Fuck. Benny's dreams encounter gently, quickly, softly. The shade showed that its tormentor was dead, turned and stomped off toward the horizon, stopping along the way to bellow one final roar. Then to kill it. Shamed beyond imagining, Kainé tried to turn her head to the side, but only succeeded in coughing up a huge gout of blood. It was getting difficult to see, and only after a moment of fierce concentration did she realize that her left eye was gone. Laughing to herself, she turned her remaining eye to the ruins of her home and noticed a ragged stump of arm resting a few feet away. Yeah, that's mine, she thought with a mad giggle. This is gonna make a clapping a real bitch. Ah, cried a sudden voice from the depths of her mind. Finally gonna die, are ya? Well, you had it coming. Go to hell, Demo, thought as the unseen assailant. Go to hell before I pluck out your eyes and feed them to a dog. The voice of a child with terror evaporated into smoke, only to be replaced by another, more recent voice. Hold still, said the apothecary, materializing from the ruins like a ghost. I want to draw you. That way you can live forever. Oh, stop. Don't want to live forever. Want to die right here. I see, he said quietly. Well, if that's what you want. The spectral shopkeeper fluttered in and out of existence for a moment, produced a piece of paper and sketched it quickly. After a few seconds, he turned the page to Kainé and smiled. Since you rejected my offer, I decided to draw someone else. It was a picture of her grandmother, real as life. Kainé opened her mouth to thank the man. but stopped as the picture began to blacken in the middle. Before she could say anything, dozens of multi-legged insects began to swarm across the image, tearing at it with sharpened pincers. Stop! No, don't hit the picture! Kainé reached out with her remaining arm and waved futilely at the air. She was surprised the insects fell off the picture to the ground below, but they vanished into tiny black tendrils of smoke. Relieved, Kainé turned her good eye back to the picture, only to open her mouth in a silent scream. The sketch now showed her grandmother as she truly was, a smashed, unrecognizable lump of something, of nothing. The apothecary smiled and then broke into a jolly dance. You motherfucker. See that? He cried as he danced the jig. It's perfect now. He looks just like you. Ah, cha-cha-cha. I look like that? Oh god, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Drowning in despair, Kainé laid her head back in the mud and smoke of her ruined house and waited for the end to come. But just real, she let go, and an unfamiliar voice began whispering in her ear. And you got a wish, sunshine? The voice was vulgar and fierce at the same time, as if insanity had somehow found a way to take form. Kainé wanted to scream as the voice crawled under her skin, but her lungs refused to work. You know, I wish, like a prayer or something. Why don't you get on your knees and start praying to heaven? Please, invisible man in the sky, save me, save me! Save me from these walls of text. Step away for like 30 minutes and I'm still reading. Dude. We went to a cutscene, but it was an old cutscene that we've seen already. Of Kainé being unpetrified. And then we're back to more text. Kainé finally resorted to shouting at the voice with her mind. I don't make wishes, they don't come true for me. I'm a curse, a freak. I should be left to die. That the voice boomed in her ears. Oh god, you're the best. Kainé glanced down and saw a black shiny substance oozing from her leg. She tried to brush it away, but her remaining arm would no longer respond. The substance slowly crept around her feet, and then began moving up toward the rest of her body. Is this death? Is this what it's like? Or is my mind just losing itself? She could feel the slime oozing upward, feel the hot searing pain it left in its wake. Whatever else might be happening, she was alive and this was real. Come on, said the voice, let it go. Kainé tried to ignore the voice and concentrate on the pain, but the newcomer wouldn't have none of it. Don't ignore me, sunshine. You're ready to give up, ready to die, so now let me have it. Have what? Your body. Come on, give it to me. Give it to me. I want to stand on the ground, feel the rain, taste the wind. The voice paused as if licking its lips. When it resumed, it was filled with mad and bated joy. I want to take your hands and use them to choke the goddamn life out of people. I want to tear out the throats and bathe in the blood just like before. In response, Kainé shifted her head and vomited. The warmth of it crept down her throat and mingled with the pain of the encroaching black ooze. Are you a shade? Yeah, maybe of it. Maybe one of it. The slime reached her face, crept up past her nose, and slowly oozed into the socket of her missing eye. The moment it touched her brain, Kainé was struck by the most powerful sensation she'd ever felt in her life. It was ecstasy! She wanted to scream with delight, but all she could manage was a small whispered moan. Feels good, don't it? Asked a voice with a chuckle. Yeah, what can I say? I know how to please the ladies. Now give me that body. Come on, give me the body and I'll give you more of this feeling. It's a fair trade. A black lump began to protrude from Kainé's side. As she watched it, it grew longer and thicker, eventually taking the form of her missing arm. I can see better, she thought. My eye must be growing back too. Slime reached up to the rest of her face, but she managed to brush it away. Stop, she whispered, marveling at how she had regained her voice. Stop. Black ooze hesitated as if considering this request, then shimmering down her body before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. What the hell, sunshine? Screamed a voice. We had a deal. Thought you wanted to die. Grandma. Grandma can't die yet. Brief image of her grandmother, bloodied and broken, flashed before her eyes. She saw the shade that killed her and heard its mocking laughter. It held her eyes and forced the image from her mind. Her whole body was quaking with rage. When she opened her eyes again, they turned bright red. That thing took my grandmother. I have to kill it before I die. Kainé glanced down and saw a mysterious pattern. The pattern of the shades burned itself into her arm. Well, I'll be damned, said the voice cheerfully. Look at that, Sunshine. I think you and me are gonna be friends now. The real crime is this narration. So tired. Oh my god, how long? Oh, nearly an hour of just reading this shit. I didn't pay $80 for this. Kainé stared intently at her arm. The more emotional she felt, the more the letters seemed ready to puncture her skin and begin infecting the rest of her body. Clearly it had a will of its own. Stab the girl, stab. Stab it. Holding your left arm and your right to get into a deep breath and try to calm myself. Come on, don't fight it, plead the voice. Here's my favorite dish, I'm hungry. Oh, hate's my favorite dish and I'm hungry. Let it go, feel the anger. Burn with the fire of revenge, burn with the thirst. That dash for blood. Then going out there and... Shut up and shut the hell up and sit the hell down. Your body? Oh, that's rich, Sunshine. Real rich. Look, why don't you just up and die so I can have this body all to myself? What do you say? I bet those buddies of yours in the area would love to see you dead. Kainé grabbed the nearby shot of glass and tried to stop the shade-inflicted portion of his side. Before she could, her darkened left arm grabbed her right wrist, crushed it. God damn it. So much to read. Help me. Kainé screamed and dropped the shot as the sound of bone crunching on bone filled the air. Ah ha ha, stupid idiot girl, you're possessed now, Sunshine, and there's no getting back. The voice laughed again, a loud, long wail that seemed to go on without end. Possessed, whispered Kainé. Yeah, possessed, you and me. Got what you might call a timeshare arrangement. Remember how folks used to think you were a freak? Well, wait till they get a load of you now. Kainé looked up, tears in her eyes. The sky seemed smaller somehow, darker. Is this because of that shade? Is this how they see the world? So, listen, purred the voice. I know this whole possession thing seems a bit sudden, but it ain't all bad. There's plenty in it for you, too. I'm a very powerful creature, Sunshine, and now that power belongs to you. You got enemies, people you wanna kill? I can make it happen. That little fat kid who kept picking on you, that big shade that squashed your granny, will wrap him up in their own assholes. No more abuse for you, Sunshine, no more pain. Oh, wait, said Kainé, you're a shade. Why would you help me kill another shade? What, you think I'm some kind of racist? Some killing snob? I don't give a good goddamn who you murder, honey pants. I just want to drink from the well. Kainé considers this as she struggled with her faith. Power of the shade coursing through her. Smoke from her house was drifting away with the wind. She enjoyed the cool evening breeze on her new left arm. After a long pause, the voice spoke again. So, how about it? You and me? We could have some good times together. Look, I'll even take care of that bloody pot if you don't want. Fuck off, asshole, muttered Kainé. I'll handle the killing. Screamed the voice. Look at you go! Oh, Sunshine, we're gonna have so much fun! So, listen, my name's Tyran. And if you ever need me, I'll just be hanging on this piece of meat you call a heart. Now get to it. The more you kill, the more your heart turns rotten and sour. And I like rotten and sour. Kainé found herself nodding at the voice. Yeah, she said. Yeah, I think this can work. I'm gonna find that shade and I'm gonna strangle it with its own guts. When I'm done, I'm gonna do the same to you, Tyran. Count on it. Tyran, whatever. Ha! Slapped Tyran. I shit bigger than you, so good luck with that. Oh, and hey, one more thing. Right now, you and me are sharing this body, but if you ever run out of hate, if you ever, you know, go soft, then I'm gonna take over everything. So keep on killing, sunshine, and watch your back. The voice grew fainter and gradually faded away, fading to somewhere deep inside Kainé herself. Kainé waited until she was sure the voice was gone, and then waved her new left arm around a few times. It feels perfectly normal, she thought. It feels like mine. Desperately, she began poking and prodding at the new limb, determined to find if something went wrong with it. She didn't want it to feel normal. That would mean the creature inside her had already won. I am not a shade. I am Kainé. Repeating this mantra in her head, she slowly began digging through the rubble of her house, being careful to ignore a certain red-stained spot in the corner. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity of heartbreaking work, she found what she was looking for. It was a wreath of lunar tears. Wreath wreath. Though it had been through hell and back, the garland's petals were as bright as ever. Kainé started to place it in her hair, then slowly lowered the wreath. Bleh. Stared at it. I'm sorry, Grandma. I'm so sorry, but I don't deserve to wear this anymore. I'm possessed, corrupted, a freak. And this time, I don't think there's any going back. Holding the flowers to her heart, Kainé felt at the ground and sobbed. As night gradually lightened to dawn and the people of the Eyrie rose to their daily lives, she remained in that position. As if tears could somehow wash away the horror that was now infecting her world.
Alive! Stay alive! Stay alive! Grandma. Kainé, you gotta live! You gotta come back to us!
Emile is her grandma.
Oh, hey. Emile, you were the one calling me, weren't you?
You still recognize me?
Of course. I knew you right away.
Thank you, Kainé.
Welcome back, Kainé.
Wow, you grew up. So, how long has it been?
5 years.
You're taller than me. Fuck.
Shit. That's a long time. Any luck with Yona?
We are still no closer to finding her. We need a way to locate the Shadow Lord.
By the way, this is for you.
Is that a lunar tear?
It's not as good as your grandmother's, but I tried.
No, it's great. Thank you.
Kainé waking from her long petrified sleep. Emile's unflagging kindness. Our reunion was a happy one, and we let it wash over us like rain. That is, until Devila and Popola had to go and ruin it all. Are you kidding me? You can't be serious!
Villains.
Please try to understand. People are tired and scared, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to bear the brunt of that.
I feel like you've watched this before. You probably did. It's the exact same thing. Or the exact same things are happening. I'm not sure what this
This is crap, and you know it!
ending or route is.
It's okay. We can sleep outside.
No one's sleeping outside. You and Kainé saved this village, and now they want to run you out?
People are afraid of us. And really, I understand. I mean, look at me. As long as you're still with us, I can deal with it. Right, Kainé?
I'm used to sleeping outside.
But
We'll see you later.
Sorry about this.
What is the matter?
Kainé always sleeps outside. I never thought about that until just now. Never even occurred to me. Damn it.
We should turn in.
Am I not able to play as
Didn't get
Kainé?
much sleep that night.
I play hands.
For the first time in my life, I hated Devila. For the first time in my life, I doubted Popola. But those feelings are pointless in the end. They said and did what they did for the sake of the village. To protect it from the horror of the Shades. Really, how can I blame Devila and Popola? In the end, I'm just as bad. Because I never once stopped to think about Kainé and Emil's situation myself.
Oh!
I should apologize to Kainé and Emil, but what good would that even do?
I got a fire going, Kainé.
Wait, is that...
Campfires are weird, aren't they? I feel like I could stare at the flames forever.
Well, don't get all googly-eyed and catch your clothes on fire.
Obviously.
Aw, is that all?
I'm so happy to get to talk to you again, Kainé.
Yeah, me too.
I tried everything I could think of to save you, you know. I polished you with a special cloth. I poured warm water over you.
Poured warm water over you?
Wait, you poured water on me?
Yeah, but it didn't really do much except make you all shiny.
Hey, Emil. Thanks for saving me.
I guess you noticed how I look different now.
I'm sorry, Emil. I'm sorry for all of it.
Well, I mean, this new form isn't all bad, you know? At least I can look at you when we talk, right? Hey, so why don't you tell me something about yourself?
I'm not very interesting. Sorry.
Come on, I just want to know you better. Please?
Fine. This all happened when I was a kid. Before the whole shade possession thing. My body is... different. And when the villagers found out about it, they started treating me like a freak. But one person, my grandmother, accepted me just as I was. No matter how bad things got, she gave me the strength to keep going.
She's really special to you, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, hey! That gives me an idea. Since we cured your petrification, we should start looking for a way to cure your possession in my body. I know we can do it if we all work together. Heck, it'll probably be super easy.
Let me guess. More warm water?
Okay, can we just forget I told you about that?
Warm water. But what about cold water?